Venezuela with the capture of Maduro. Could that have any implications for the legal case here?
Yeah, I think, Pamela, the way I'm thinking about it is there's really two separate tracks that are going on. On one hand, there was the arrest operation or capture to go and take custody of Maduro and his wife, who are under indictment in the Southern District of New York. And actually, Maduro had been indicted back in 2020, and then this was a superseding indictment that then finally the U.S. government decided to effectuate the arrest and capture. And obviously, to do that capture, it involved a military operation because he was a purported head of state in another country. I view those set of legal issues as different from the legal issues surrounding the overall U.S. military campaign against Venezuela, and in particular, what that might mean in the future. Because to Anna's point, the lack of clarity that the administration has provided in terms of who the United States government recognizes as in charge in Venezuela, who the United States government wants to be in charge of Venezuela, and how the United States, now that we have decapitated their head of state, how the United States intends to implement whatever is our objective in Venezuela, raises a set of legal questions if that's going to involve more U.S. military action.
You know, Carrie, I just want to follow up, because in the wake of this Venezuela raid, which we all watched, President Trump has now issued fresh threats to other governments, including some of them, Mexico, Cuba, Colombia, Iran, even Greenland, which is part of Denmark, a NATO ally. What does that say to our allies, and what comes next?
Well, there is different legal national security arguments that could be made for changing U.S. policy with respect to any of those. So the arguments that obviously Greenland is a separate instance from the issues that are in Central and South America. Greenland has a strategic position, and there is a long-standing partnership with the governance that is there to provide U.S. access to Greenland for military and defensive purposes in that region. In Latin and South America, the difference is that it pertains to what is the United States' policy as to drug trafficking. And for a long time, I and some other commentators have been suggesting that if the United States' objective was really to go after drug trafficking and fentanyl in particular, then all of the U.S. effort would have been geared towards Mexican cartels, because those are the primary traffickers of fentanyl in particular, which has killed so many thousands of Americans. Then the president's statements have focused on oil, as Wolf, we were discussing over the weekend after the operation. So the United States really, from the administration's perspective, needs to get its story more consistent in terms of what its national security objectives are before we go out and are threatening to conduct a military activity against a variety of allies.
Including a NATO